What's going on, people? So, the promised day has finally arrived. The Xbox Game Showcase went down earlier today, and this is going to be my post-review recap discussion thingy-mabobber-majigger. I'm just going to be discussing my overall thoughts on the event, in addition to a couple of things that I personally found interesting. This isn't going to be a complete play-by-play recap of all the titles that they showed off, because frankly, there were a lot. But at the same time, the games that they showed off, there wasn't much substance to them to warrant me taking time to talk about it. Sounds weird, I know, but you'll understand as we get further along. So, leading up to this event, I think it goes without saying, there was a lot of hype. There seriously was. After the lackluster May showcase, Microsoft assured us that, hey, when we show you more Series X games, you will be getting guaranteed Series X gameplay. July is going to be the event where all our first parties are going to be firing on all cylinders. Like, this is going to be the reason why you get excited for Xbox. And did they deliver on that? Kind of. They kind of did. So by comparison to the May showcase, this one was definitely structured a lot better. Presentation-wise, you know, they had a lot of high-quality assets in production, you know, better quality cameras, microphones, things like that, and it was focused 100% on games. So if you are a gamer, this showcase was really good because they showed off a diverse lineup of things, of different genres, from different developers all across the world. It looks great. And if you are an Xbox user who has Game Pass, this is just another example of why Game Pass is the best value in all of gaming, because everything they showed off here will be coming day and date to Xbox Game Pass. Absolutely incredible. But this event did nothing to sell the Xbox Series X console. It really didn't. And we're just going to start with a couple of the notable offenders. First up on the plate, Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite, marquee title for Xbox. They said going into it that you're going to get your first look at Halo Infinite campaign gameplay. And there was a lot of hype because, you know, it's been 5 years since the last Halo game. 343 has had a really hit and miss track record as of late. You know, them spending a whole generation to fix the Master Chief Collection. A lot of people were rightfully skeptical about this. But Halo Infinite, I gotta say, was not that bad. In fact, I thought that looking at it as a Halo game, it looked like a lot of fun. I'm definitely seeing a lot of callbacks to previous Halo entries in addition to modernizing it to an extent. The gameplay itself, like the actual gameplay, the combat, the firefights, that stuff looks amazing and I can't wait to play it. That being said, the game itself, visually, it looks very, very rough around the edges. Like, I understand the situation that everybody is in right now, working from home, so things could be compromised, but this is a game that they've been working on for half a decade now. It's got over 1,000 people, $500 million production budget, and this is our first time seeing the game. Halo Infinite should be a jaw-dropping announcement. It should literally be like leaving your jaw like, bro, what? Instead of, oh, that looks great for a Halo game. You know, I don't like to do comparisons across the board, but when we saw Killzone Shadowfall, when we saw Doom and all these other games that came out this generation, they looked more visually appealing from the get-go. Now, I don't know if this has to do with the new engine that they're working on, but when you have Halo, the marquee title, which is supposed to be the game that's just, even if third parties don't take advantage of the hardware, your first party does. When Halo does not look that much better to other current gen games, that is a problem. And that isn't a case of me being a graphics whore. No, it's just there's a certain standard. There's a certain standard that has been set in the industry in addition to Microsoft's first parties for their exclusives, that Halo Infinite just doesn't seem like it's hitting that level. Now, again, things can change from now until the launch of Halo Infinite this November. I assume it's going to be a Series X day and date launch, so it could get better. But the more and more we're hearing about the game, it seems to me like it's going to be a work in progress title. You know, ray tracing will be coming after the fact. Ray tracing is one of the things that they've been pimping out for the next generation of consoles. And when you have the Series X, and this is going to be one of the points I'll ram home later, the Series X is the most powerful console that's ever existed. With 12 teraflops of performance, world-class SSD, and Halo looks like that. Again, guys, this is not taking anything away from the gameplay itself. It looks like it's going to be fun, but I just expected a lot more. The pedigree of the Halo name, that left a lot to be desired. Now, they didn't show off any type of multiplayer for it, but I'm not really losing sleep about it because they have a couple of months where they can do deep dives into the changes they've made for the overall multiplayer system. So I'm not too worried about that. And story-wise, it remains to be seen if it's going to be just a full-on, like, Halo-focused narrative, or they're going to be telling the story a little bit different because it's more open world ended. We'll have to see as far as that goes, but yeah, not a good opener for the showcase. The game itself is probably going to be good, but everything I'm hearing about how, it's just going to be an evolving game and they're going to keep supporting it for years. Normally you'd be excited about that, but when you hear a lot of games that just come out, like Microsoft, for example, Sea of Thieves did not launch in a great state. Sure, they fixed it and it's become a great game, but the waiting to that point, you don't want to do that for something like Halo. It should be good from the get-go and then just evolves and gets better. That's my main problem. So you have Halo Infinite. They opened up with that game, which would lead you to believe that, if they're opening with Halo, then that means they've got so much else in the pipeline. Yeah, no, Halo Infinite is about the most concrete representative of final build quality gameplay that we saw. Most of the games here were a combination of in-game trailers of the engines or cinematics with just a title flashing by. I don't know about y'all, but I can't really get excited for this. I'm not a big fan of cinematic trailers for games. I mean, it's okay if you want to use it to hype something up and then you have gameplay coming right afterwards, but I can't get excited for a cinematic trailer for something like Fable. Fable, a game that we all knew was coming. But a game like Fable, the fact that they didn't show any footage whatsoever, I'm supposed to be excited that it exists, and then that brings in a bigger problem down the road, which I'll touch on later, about how some of these games, they look like they're 2 to 3 years out minimum. But we saw a lot of games shown off here. We saw from a lot of third-party partners and publishers, things like that. And a lot of them, they looked good. They looked like they'll be great games. But none of them really screamed, yo, Xbox Series X, most powerful console that ever existed. None of them did. They all looked like games that they could be done on the Xbox One, on the PlayStation 4, to a variable degree. I mean, I'm sure they'll take advantage of some of the next-gen features, but they don't look, it does not stand out. And that's perfectly fine if you're developing a multi-platform game for, multiple consoles. But it's the optics of Microsoft themselves, not us. This isn't the fans saying this. This is Microsoft who's doing the deep dives into the Series X architecture and all these things. This is why it's the best, blah, blah, blah. And yet they don't show anything that's representative of that quality. So a lot of the trailers for games like State of Decay 3, cool. Fable, cool. Like the new game from Rare, cool. Like, these are all great announcements because they're diverse games and they're bolstering the ecosystem. But they didn't have concrete gameplay for me to look at. I'm literally, this is what the game is going to be. This is what you're going to be playing when it comes out. We didn't see any of that. And if we did, it was something so small. And in the grand scheme of things, it's like you already knew what it was going to be. Psychonauts 2, for example. Oh, God. Psychonauts looks incredible. I cannot wait for that game. My feelings on Tim Schafer aside. But that was like the most concrete gameplay we saw after Halo Infinite. And it's Psychonauts, a game that we already know what it would play like, because we already had a previous Psychonauts game. And that was a lot of the games in the showcase. It was. If you're a gamer, you're happy for all these games because they're coming to your platform. If you're an Xbox owner with Game Pass, you're just stoked. But nothing there is really like indicative, like yo, this pre-order of the Series X is, I can't wait. It's literally just like, oh, this game is coming to the Series X, so I'll be excited about it, Like Phantasy Star Online 2, the new expansion thing they have going on, looks tremendous. It looks fabulous. But is that showing off the power of the Series X? You know, like I keep having to like rail that point home because that's what this showcase was supposed to do. We just got a lot of games that were, in my honest opinion, they looked like they were minimum 2 to 3 years out. And I've noticed that with a lot of the games that weren't cross-generational titles. So games that are only coming to the Xbox Series X and the PC. A lot of those games such as Hellblade, Fable, you know, like all those other titles, they just showed up for like 5 seconds and then that was it. Which leads me to believe the fact that they aren't cross-gen means they just started development within the past couple months and they don't have even like a proof of concept. Like Hellblade, for example, they said like, yeah, we're working on Hellblade 2 and we're here to announce that we have picked the location. Iceland. This could have been a tweet. This could have been a tweet. It could have been a blog post, but you put it in the showcase, the hour-long showcase. Ori 2 is going to get a Series X patch of 120 frames per second. Amazing. But this could have been a blog post. Like, this is not something you put. This is like something you sprinkle on as like an added thing like, yo, we're coming out with Ori 3. Here's the teaser trailer. And you know what? For Series X owners, Ori 2 is getting this Series X patch. That's how you do those small things. That's literally like if you have a game and you're hyping up a pre-order bonus for a game instead of actually showing a new trailer for a game. You know, like a new actual concrete gameplay footage. No, we're pre-order now and you get this bonus thing. That's kind of what it was. It was really shallow. Everything was shallow. Nothing tangible for you to grab onto. Some good announcements, like Stalker 2. Who was checking for Stalker 2? That new Warhammer game. Who was checking for that new Warhammer game? And the fact that they showed it off here is great. But no gameplay. No gameplay. They're all just cinematic trailers. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but I'm trying to recap everything. Like, no, maybe there's just some solace. Maybe they really did it, man. They really didn't. And that's what makes me sad because as a gamer, I'm happy because all these games are coming out. They're going to be on Game Pass. It's cool. But just the optics of everything as gearing up for a new generation of consoles, I didn't see enough proof of concept for me to upgrade my Xbox One X or for me to go ahead and, you know, not game on my PC. Like, I like having consoles because they are consoles. Even though I have my PC, I can play all those games on the PC. I would prefer to play a lot of those on my Xbox underneath my entertainment setup because that's how I like to game. I didn't see anything here that's like, yup, you got to get the Series X on release. If anything, it's going to tell me like, yeah, 2 years, 3 years down the road. Like, check out this new Forza game. We don't have a title for it. We don't have actual gameplay for it, but we're working on it. So, I know this sounds like all over the place here, people. Like, looking at it as a game showcase, just in general, if it was just a game showcase, it's pretty freaking good. It's pretty good. I give it high marks. But just everything, the optics surrounding it and how this is supposed to be the dawn of a new Xbox and everything that Microsoft, they set the expectations. I cannot stress this enough. We didn't do this. Microsoft set the expectations. And then they don't back up what they're saying. I mean, come on. Like, even if you're the most hardcore Xbox fan, you got to admit that this is just really underwhelming. Even for their marquee title, Halo. And I'm saying this as somebody who, you know, I love gaming on Xbox again. You know, I freaking bought this $200 controller. And what I'm seeing here is like, what use am I going to get out of my $200 controller this fall? I'm going to get some use out of it in 2 years. And to end off, like, because I know there's a lot of comparisons with the PlayStation 5 event and everything. Do I think it was that much better? No, not necessarily. But the games that they showed off, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Horizon 2, Demon's Souls Remake, Ratchet and Clank, a lot of those games, a lot of them showed you more by comparison. They weren't just title cards. If they showed you gameplay, they showed you what it is. If they didn't show you gameplay, they showed you in-engine footage that is representative of the final quality. And you know what you are going to get. It wasn't literally just, here's a tease for Fable and this frog is going to eat this Tinkerbell. You get what I'm saying? So I don't think that's really a fair comparison. You know? Microsoft, it's always been wait for this event, wait for that event, wait for E3, wait for the Xbox One X, wait for the May showcase, wait for the July showcase, and now it's wait for the August showcase because they didn't want to bore their load. They didn't want to just like show everything here, and that's fine. That's fine if they don't want to show everything. They gotta be realistic about stuff. I get it. Every company does this. Sony does it. Nintendo does it. Cool. But remember, they're fighting an uphill battle right now. They have to be firing on all cylinders. They have to. Even if they need to show another game that's like, yo. And they just didn't. But yeah, I've dragged this video on too long, ladies and gentlemen. What did you guys honestly think about the Xbox event? I'm talking about honestly. Like, honestly, like, just take off the fanboy blinders, whether you are a Sony fanboy or Xbox. You know, give credit where credit is due. And at the same time, know when to be crucially critical to these guys. Because they need this. They need to have the fire lit under their asses so we can actually see these games. But yeah, from video for now, my name is NGS signing out. Like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.